Please, may you confirm for me if you're able to see my screen? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing. Okay, so before I start, my name is Linda Ngosi. I am a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for almost 10 years now. So when some interns started calling me sir, in the beginning, I was gravely offended, but I realized that I've been around for some time. So yes, I'm embracing my sir face, but it's okay. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined. Thank you so much for taking time off to listen to someone who you hardly know, but is like coming here and saying all sorts of things because I see I share quite a lot. But I share because I'm passionate of learning, and CPD has really helped me grow as a pharmacist. I literally think CPD formats now. I believe that pharmacists are okay. I'd like to share my screen so that you're not feeling like you're talking to a strange person. So yes, I love CPD. I believe that CPD is an effective way to grow, to add value to yourself and to eventually add value to the people that you work with. CPD has helped me not only in pharmacy, but it has helped me in my personal life as well. I'm currently studying, I'm pursuing a second degree in chemistry and computer sciences. Most of the time, people who ask me why I do what I'm doing, and it's completely unrelated. But to tell you the truth, it's not. With what I'm doing in chemistry, if you're not doing chemistry, I mean, what are you doing? Joking. But chemistry is really important. Recently, side note, I learned of a way to whiten tea. I think because I've been working night shift and I abuse Red Bull and it has stained my tea. I found a way to mix hydrogen peroxide and sodium bicarbonate to whiten my teeth so that I don't have to pay large amounts of money to doctors. It has also helped me in, ways that I would have never imagined. I'm also doing something in computer sciences. So computer sciences literally allows me to think critically. There's a course called discrete maths. It is crazy difficult. Like, I don't think I've ever done anything as difficult as that course. Like, it's unreasonably difficult. But I realized that what it has helped me is to think critically so that I'm able to solve the problems of today. I also am doing a bit of calculus. Calculus is amazing, pharmacodynamics is calculus. So looking at the curriculum from the Pharmacy Council, I realized that a lot of the curriculum changes is also what I've been doing for some time now. I read quite a lot, I read extensively, and I believe in reading and I believe in empowering yourself. I began equipping CPD solution about, let's say, 4 years from now. I always tell the story that I've never been the smartest person in the room, but what helped me is to learn, to grow, to get help, and CPDs has been such an amazing platform to not only learn, but to grow alongside like-minded people who believe in learning, who believe in growing. Yesterday, I was at a pharmacy and I met a pharmacist who did a degree in IT before coming into pharmacy. Now they are working night shift, so yay, night shifters, and they're pursuing a project management course. They're already a pharmacist, they already did a BSc in IT. And what they said is that the profession is changing. So it is important to position yourself for that change. There's NHI coming through. There is a lot of things that pharmacists are expected to do, but pharmacists are not able to do it because of the skills, because of, the lack of krach, boldness to pursue what you want to pursue. So I hope that as our interaction today, it does not only help you with your 6.2, but it allows you to dream, to imagine, to provide solutions in your workplace. Now, coming to the vision, I believe that we are here to remove the barriers in the lives of others so that they may live a life of purpose. We are all here for people. We're here for other people. Interesting story. I met my wife, been married for about 8 years. I met her at a pharmacy. So At that time, I was not looking for someone to eventually spend the rest of my life with, but I was just providing a solution. And that solution came to solve a problem that I was having as well. So, win-win. But anyway, and our mission is to reimagine learning. One of my favorite writers say, "My people perish because of a lack of knowledge." It's not that the knowledge is not available. There's a lot of information out there, and CPDs are an important platform for us to learn, to think, and to grow. Right now, there are a lot of AI tools that are available out here. And imagine AI, imagine a pharmacist in this field. Imagine all of these problems that we are facing everywhere. So we are here to reimagine learning. We are here to solve real life problems. Our communities need us. They don't need a pill pushing, dispensing um, uh, problem providing, doctor calling pharmacist who does not actually get to the ground and provide real life solution. The wards need us. Like there are so many platforms that pharmacists have not gotten into. While talking to other pharmacists, I realized that, you know what, we have not taken space. We need to be taking space. We also believe one of our missions is to grow together, growing alongside like-minded people. We value, learning. We value lifelong learning. We value collaborative practice. You, as I am interacting with all of you, I'm beginning to learn how to communicate better, how to realize that my workplace is not the only workplace there is. There are many platforms, there are many places that need us as pharmacists. So I'm learning from each and every one of you. There are people who are working in academia, who are in retail, who are working in consultation. I think I found 2 interns who are working in consultation pharmacists. Interns who did nursing before they came to pharmacy, interns who've got, who are full-time parents who still need to do their internship. So I'm learning and growing alongside you. Also believe in purposeful service. But after learning about how to train pharmacists, how do you then apply this in your workplace? How do you then apply this in your, daily lives? So we believe in that. Okay, our goals is to create learning opportunities. Lately, I've been doing some research on how to open pharmacies. I'm looking at how to open wholesale pharmacies, retail pharmacies, because I believe we have a place. You are not created to be employed. You are now created to then create employment. We are seeing just the job market dry up all around us. And pharmacists, because of our skill set, are really at a good place for us to provide the solutions that we need to be providing, but we're not taking up space. So I hope to inspire you. I hope to motivate you. And I hope to, remove the barrier of CPD, because once you realize that, 6.2, I'm training people and I'm able to apply this in my workplace, not just for your internship, but even after internship, because the skills you're supposed to, continuously apply. So I hope this helps. And while we are doing CPD, you are helping me with like bigger goals as well. I was lately communicating with a friend of mine, and I was just telling them that, you know what, I want to sponsor an intern for their graduation. There are many interns who are not placed. Sorry that is this, you did not pay to hear some long sermon about, all of this. But there are interns who are not placed even now, who want to graduate, who are thinking of all the costs. I partnered with the Smiles Foundation through Isahi. We are on our way to sponsor our first smile. A smile costs 5,000 Rand. I mean, if pharmacists got together and sponsored one smile, if we got together and bought a wheelchair for the hospital, some of us are working in facilities whereby there's literally no stock. You're working in a government facility, there is irap ayiko, there is no Panado, there's no essential medicines because and we're thinking that life is just life. But when someone does not have that thing, I mean, imagine spending the whole day at a pharmacy and not getting it up right. Anyway, so these are all of this. This is why we exist. This is just a way to remove the barrier so that we can actually solve the real life problems. Okay. Now to the business of the day, CPD. Today's session is going to be a bit interactive. It is going to be interactive because this session has already been recorded. The material is already available online. But I want today's session to help you. If you already have a topic you want to train on, By the end of today, I want you to know exactly what resources you need to be collecting and how to write your 4-step cycle. What I normally tell interns is that don't start with writing your 4-step cycle. Understand what your topic is, understand the behavioral statements, start collecting the evidence, annotate your evidence, then go back to write your 4-step cycle. It will simplify your whole learning activity. By the end of the session, I hope that you realize that CPDs will be done in 5 to 7 days, at most 10 days. That's the whole. Okay, so from our 4-step cycle, I'm pretty sure that now you understand that our reflection, the start of the CPD process is, what you hope to achieve or what triggered you should be a specific incident that happened, not some abstract thing that happened that, I'm supposed to train, but what really happened? What did you observe? What did you hear? What were your interests? And then what did you then do? And then planning is where you look at the behavioral statement and then think, how will I achieve the goals that I've identified in my reflective practice? What resources do I need? Where can I find these resources? And which behavioral statement is this linked to? Then my implementation is where I action the plan I have. And then evaluation is where I look back and reflect. Did I learn what I said I would learn? And how can I improve from that? So the title for this CPD is Providing Training on Malaria to Pharmacy Staff at Lulama Healthcare Pharmacy. Lulama is some made-up name. It is my wife's name because one day we are going to open a chain of pharmacies in rural communities, and Lulama literally means to get well. So with your title, remember that it should tell the assessor what's really happening. You are providing training. You are providing training on what? On malaria, my topic. To who? To pharmacy staff. Okay. Why are you providing training? You can say to equip them so that they can provide excellent pharmaceutical care. So what are you doing? To who are you doing it for and why? In your title, it should answer that. So I'm providing training on this specific topic to a specific audience for a reason, maybe to ensure that they learn how to handle malaria cases or whatever reason that you can have. What are you doing? Why are you doing? And who are you doing it to? Who are you doing it for? I hope you get that. Okay. Now, 4-step cycle, I won't go through a lot into that, since I've already explained. Moving on to reflection. In the reflection, this is where you start. I think one of the problems I've realized is that interns struggle with this one, the learning need. Sometimes with the trigger scenario. I think the SAPC has not been explicit into what exactly do you require, because sometimes the assessors can be very tricky with their responses. Okay, so the trigger scenario is what happened. Let's say you're talking to your friend and your friend asks you, I hear that you want to train. Why do you want to train? Or your colleague asks you, why do you want to train? Then you explain that there is something that happened. There's someone that you talk to. There's something that you observe that made you realize, hey, I want to train this. Maybe you observe that pharmacists are not able to handle specific situations. Or maybe you observe that there are a lot of patients who are not adherent to their medication. So you want to train on medicine adherence. Maybe you realize that, you know what, the SAPRA recently issued a product recall for citrus soda. And now you want to train staff on the different types of recalls. That could be an example of a training. Or maybe you observed that pharmacists don't know of the regulations that's relating to dispensing practices. So you want to train on the regulation. Or maybe they don't know how to handle product complaint or product recalls or confidentiality according to the law. That is the reason why you want to train. And then the learning need is related to the behavioral statements or the competency standard. It speaks of the knowledge, the skill, or the behavior that you need to develop according to this. So now that there's 3 behavioral statements, what do you want to learn, or what do you need to learn based on those behavioral statements? Maybe you want to improve your skills in training, or maybe you want to make sure that you learn how to assess training in a specific topic that you have. Okay, and then the goal to be achieved is at the end, after having trained, what do you hope to be able to do? Remember to link it with the behavioral statements or the competency standard. Okay, now the trigger scenario. I understand that continuous workplace training is important to remain professionally competent according to the code of conduct. Okay, with our pharmacy located at a malaria. Thank you so much, Gwena, for joining. Okay. With our pharmacy located in a malaria-prone area, I realized the importance of training on malaria. Upon interacting with the staff, I realized that they lacked knowledge on this topic in the pharmacology of malaria drugs, so I was prompted to conduct a training session. As you can see, I am starting with a general, like something general that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be training. And then I realized something happening. I realized that we are located in a malaria-prone area. It's January. There's been a lot of rainfall happening. And then when I'm talking to the staff, I see that the staff does not know the pharmacology of the drugs or even how to handle them. So then I was prompted to do a training. You see, there's a problem identifying, and then I see a gap, and then I want to train. But now, what do I need to learn so that I'm able to train the staff on the topic that I've chosen? I should link this with the behavioral statements with the competence standard. I had limited knowledge of planning and conducting staff trainings, so I needed to enhance my understanding of training methods. And seek guidance from my tutor and create a training plan. Then develop the learning materials from the training session. As you can see, my learning need is related to the competency standard or the behavioral statements. Behavioral statement A tells me that I don't know how to plan and conduct trainings because I'm supposed to have a training plan and then I need to learn how to train. There's a method of training. It's different. As I was doing research and preparing this, there are different training methodologies which I didn't know. Having that skill, you can realize that, guys, as a pharmacist, as you do CPD, you are a project manager. You are managing projects. Now I am managing a project on training staff. Okay. My goal at the end of this portfolio of evidence is to train pharmacy staff efficiently and assess the learning material on malaria, thereby enhancing my skills to confidently train staff effectively in the future. Now, this is my reflection split into 3. Whenever I assess work submitted by interns, by the way, last year, I think I assessed over 120 CPDs. I think in domain 6.2, it's over 40. So at least 40 per domain. So the feedback that I received, just that I need to keep a better record. The feedback that I received most of the time has to do with the learning need. What you need to learn should be related to the competency standard or the behavioral statements. To think of it, think of your topic and think of what you need to learn based on the topic. Think of the behavioral statements. You know, behavioral statement is about training effectively. Do I know how to train effectively? If you don't know, then you put that as a learning need. Do I know how to assess the material? If you don't know, then you put that as a learning need. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now your planning checklist. This is phase 2. Now that you've identified what you need to learn, the goal that you need to achieve, then you need to plan. Planning is always written in the future, but there's key elements that need to come into it. The planning should always be written in the future tense, not in past tense. Again, future tense. You need to state the resources that you will use. This includes the page number, the sections, the rationale, or the reason for that resource. You need to link with the behavioral statement that you are covering. Since it's 6.2, it's 3 behavioral statements. So whatever statement that you add at the end, linked with behavior statement A, B, or C. Again, avoid blanket evidence. Blanket evidence is when you say link to behavior statement A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Don't do that. But now I know that when you understand the behavior statements, it will be so much easier. Okay. You need to cover at least 75% of behavioral statements. So you cover all 3, because if you cover 2, that is 66.6%. So you cover all of them. At the end of the sessions, you will know not only how to cover them, but also take the evidence. Domain 6.2 has 3 behavioral statements, so you need to cover all 3. Okay. And then 6.2, let's speak of the behavioral statements. Behavioral statement A, behavioral statement B, and behavioral statement C. Behavioral statement A is about teaching. You're now supposed to teach effectively according to a training plan. So the training plan that you use, you're supposed to be guided by someone who is senior to you. It can be a pharmacist at work, or it can be your tutor as well, anyone. But you need to state who provided the guidance for the training plan. You can also use another pharmacist, but it has to be someone senior to you. It doesn't have to always be your tutor alone. Behavioral statement B is about performing a self-assessment. A self-assessment. You're not assessing the people that you're training, you're assessing yourself. And then you're supposed to then identify your learning gaps and then create a learning plan. Now that you've seen what you learned, based on the behavioral statements, based on the topic, how will you then cover them? Okay. Behavior statement C is about you creating the learning activities. This also includes training the people that you're training, assessing the training, okay? That's important to check if the learning needs were actually met or the training objectives were then met, okay? And then you're supposed to seek feedback. You can seek feedback from your tutor, and then you can also seek feedback from the attendants, okay? So now that we are here, what I wanted us to do is to have just a short brainstorming session on how to look at the behavior statements. This session is, okay, let's spend about 10 minutes just on this part. This is very important. I think when interacting with interns, I see that they will ask me, so what evidence do I need to collect? And that's a tricky question to answer because it's not like a blanket, no, collect 1, 2, 3. It is first understanding why are you collecting that piece of evidence. Okay. So now let's say we are doing 6.2. Okay. I don't know. Maybe you can suggest the topic that we can do. You can unmute and tell me what you'd like to brainstorm on. Whatever subject or that you recommend, it'll be easier. Even if it's your topic, then you know that I'm sorted for this. So any takers on the topic we can take. No one. Okay, no problem. So let's do it like this, okay? These are all the behavioral statements that we have in domain 6.2. Let's say that my topic is confidentiality, okay? This is the topic I want to train the staff on, okay? So we look at behavioral statement A. I'm supposed to train effectively according to a training plan. I ask myself, what does effective training mean? Do I understand how to train effectively? Do I understand training methods? How will I train the staff? Will I use a presentation? Will I use a live demonstration? How will I make sure that I train them effectively? Do I know how to train? So then here I can check, my problem is I don't know how to train. I don't know how to train, or I don't know how to like training methods or ways of training. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn of methods to train. And then again, I will say training plan. Do I know how to develop a training plan? Who will help me develop the training plan? And how can I get guidance on this? Okay. So I've covered behavioral statement A. Behavioral statement B is, do I know how to perform a self-assessment? How can I perform a self-assessment? Okay, so behavioral statement A is, where can I get the information to perform a self-assessment? Okay, please forgive my handwriting here. And then again, I will say learning plan. What exactly is a learning plan? How do I plan my learning? Stuff like that. And then behavioral statement C, this is where most interns, they thrive here. Because I am training on confidentiality, this is where they mostly focus on. But this is not all there is. Since I'm training on confidentiality, how will I provide the material to the people? Will I have a presentation that I will use to train staff? Will I have a case scenario whereby I portray a case whereby there is litigation whereby pharmacists did not maintain confidentiality? Or will I have a case whereby I am supposed to maintain confidentiality, and how do I then do it? Okay. And then again, I will check, where will I get the resources? Where will I get the resources that will then enable me to create the material for this training? And then how will I obtain feedback? Lastly, what proof will I have to show that the training actually happened? Okay, now that you have all of these questions that you've asked according to your behavioral statement, you then go back or you check, okay, since in my learning, in my trigger, I said I needed to learn of training methods. How can I improve my skills on training methods? Maybe I'll look at an article that speaks about how to train. Or maybe I look at a video on YouTube that tells me how to train. Okay. And then a training plan. What exactly is a training plan? It is already a plan that tells me how to train. But how do I develop one? Lucky enough, since you participated in this session, you are going to have a template that you can use for a training plan. Sorry, just a second. Yeah. So here you are going to have a template that you can use for the training plan already provided. And then who can guide me? So here you can maybe check a tutor who can guide you how to train, how to, collect the training plan. And how can I obtain guidance? Will you write them a message? Will you send them a WhatsApp text? It is always better to have something written that shows that you you asked someone. You can provide it as proof, even if it's like a text. Hey, Melissa, can you please help me, conduct a training? I'm thinking of conducting a training on, maintaining confidentiality. How can you help? Even if that person does not know how to guide you, you can also tell them, hey, I'm conducting a training. I already know how to conduct a training plan because you will have the material. Please respond like this. When they respond, you include that as evidence. Okay. And then the next one, behavioral statement B, a self-assessment is like, what gaps have you identified? Okay. So sometimes you don't have to start like behavioral statement, like follow these behavioral statements like I have to start by, you can start here. What gaps do I have? So in the self-assessment, I see that I don't know training methods. So I need to learn of the training methods. Since you wanted to learn of the training methods, it will make sense that you provided an article that teaches you how to provide training methods, okay? And then the self-assessment would be, I don't know how to create a training plan. So it can be a training plan, how to create a training plan. And then maybe 3, since I want to train on confidentiality, I don't know what the law says about confidentiality. So here you would want to research on the, confidentiality. So here, okay, please pardon my handwriting. I hope you can understand. Then learning plan is a roadmap on how you are going to learn and achieve the skills that you wanted to achieve for your training. Okay. The material for this is already provided, so you don't have to worry about it. This would then look at the goals that you've set here and then create a timeline, help you create a timeline as to how you are going to learn and get the skills that you need to learn and then cover those skills. Okay. Behavioral statement C, since I am doing research on confidentiality, I know that as I was doing other CPTs, the nice thing about doing your CPTs is that you will remember things that you did in the other domain that will then help you in this one. So here, I know that section 1.3 of the GPP speaks about this. Okay, I am seeing a question. I will attend to questions as soon as I'm done. Okay, I see a question from Gwena. I will answer it now. Yeah, sorry guys. Let me just put on mute. Okay. So the GPP speaks about this, but it's not only that. I know that the National Health Act, not the National Health Act, but there's an act that speaks about confidentiality. And then I know that in the in the SAPC website, they speak about litigations. They speak about the consequences of not maintaining confidentiality. So now I know that I will check the pharmacia website. I can also include a live case at work as to how we can improve confidentiality maintenance at work, because there are serious litigations for POPI Act. Yes, there's also the POPI Act here that speaks about protecting people's information. This is very important. Okay, so this case could also be linked to this because it's something that happens at work. And then will I create a presentation? It would be better for me to create a presentation because I'm going to include these specific sections that speak about that. I'll be talking about what confidentiality is. So this presentation would actually be a good platform. And then feedback, I will use maybe a survey. A survey would be, just to get information on how was the training, and then to assess what was learned here. So maybe I can use a quiz. I don't have to have a written down quiz, guys. There's technology. So you can create a quiz using Google Forms, Microsoft Forms. All of these resources are available. We are a young generation. Maybe not most of us, because some of us are, like going towards 40, early 30s, not approaching 40. But technology is available. These skills that you gain here, guys, will help you in the long run. Last week, I was invited to share a poem. Guys, to the Mpumalanga Sports Awards. I have no business being there, but the confidence, the ability to talk to people, to talk to interns like I am now, has created a platform for me to not only be speaking to, I have no business to be in that platform, but whatever I find my hand to do, I do it with all my might. No one told me to start Equip Me CPD Solutions. I saw a gap and then I fulfilled it. Soon I'll be leaving government to start my own pharmacy. The first few months will be difficult, but I'll be training interns. I will be training other people on maths, physics, calculus, discrete maths, because I applied myself. So outside, I will, yeah. So you can use a quiz, and then you can use a live demonstration. So maybe you have a case. The case that you're using is what you then use to check if the people understood what you are going to be, like to check if they understood what was covered in the domain. Now that you've done all of this, what you then do is, okay, so now to make sure that my work flows, which one will I start with? So maybe you can start here. You say that this will be evidence one, because I will start by performing a self-assessment to identify my gaps. After doing the self-assessment, I will then go to maybe, okay, not two, maybe two, the training plan. So I'll perform a self-assessment, I'll see my gaps, I'll, have a topic, and then I'll seek guidance on how to perform a training plan, asking these people, maybe my tutor or whoever. And then since I will maybe sending them a text. So here, maybe the text that I will send to my tutor will be evidence 3. And then their guidance will also be evidence 3. And then I will read the article on what training methods are. This will be evidence 4. And then after this, I will create, okay, maybe before the evidence 4. This will be evidence 4 because it will be my learning plan. And then effective training, because now I know how to train effectively. This will be my evidence 5. Okay, now coming into creating the material, this will be my evidence 6, the GPP. The Poppy X that I will be using will be evidence 7. And then the pharmacy website from the SAPC case will be evidence 8. Okay, now that I have the resources, I will go again to create the presentation. This will be evidence 9. And then evidence 10 will be the quiz that I will share with the people that I will have. And then evidence 11 will be the survey that I will collect from them. And then eventually I know that I need to have an attendance register. So the attendance register will be evidence 12, and then evidence 12, then eventually I need to get feedback from maybe my tutor. This will be evidence 13. Okay, so now I need to also provide proof to show that the training actually did happen. What proof can I provide? I can provide pictures there. So this will be evidence 14, the pictures that will show that I was actually doing this. And then that's it. I have all the evidences that I need to provide. Doing it like this, by the time that you go to your planning, you know that, okay, I will start by performing a self-assessment to see my learning gaps. Next, I will seek guidance from my tutor who will guide me on how to create a training plan. And then I will send them a message via WhatsApp. And then with the guidance, I will then go to maybe create the learning plan that I will use to cover what I needed to learn. After this, to improve my knowledge on, training methods, I will read an article from, place 1, 2, 3. This article will teach me how to train effectively according to the training plan. After reading the article, I will go on to read on the GPP, the Poppy Act, and the Ifamache website to learn of the resources that need me to maintain confidentiality. I will then create a presentation to present with, create a quiz to assess the learning, and then to assess the overall training, I will use a survey. I will collect an attendance register to show proof that the training did happen, and then to show that I did train, I will ask someone to, take pictures of me while I train. This is your plan. Then you link behavioral statement A at the end, behavior statement B, behavioral statement C. That is planning. but it started with you understanding what your topic was, and then you knew what evidence you need to collect from all the behavioral statements that you have. Thinking of your CPDs in this way will not only set you apart from other interns who start by asking, what evidence do I need to collect? Because I have interns who collect evidence because they saw someone else collect evidence from the previous years. I'm not against taking evidence from other people, but sometimes you don't know what the assessors said from their results. So it may not be always beneficial to just say, since they collected this piece of evidence, Nami, I'm also collecting it. But understanding why. Start with why. Okay. Moving on, this is now the plan. Okay, so no, it's not supposed to start here. Okay, to train effectively, to train the pharmacy staff, not intern staff, on malaria, I'll ask my tutor for advice on creating a training plan and then ask them to supervise me during the training session. I will read the GPP section 3.2.3 to learn how to train effectively. I will use Appendix C from the SAPC document to identify my learning gaps and create a personalized learning plan. Then I'll research on the topic so that I can train effectively by reviewing the Center of Opportunistic Disease, Opportunistic Tropical and Hospital Infections on malaria, then the Standard Treatment Guideline, Primary Healthcare from 2020, now it's 2024, this is old, for accurate malaria management protocols. Then I'll create a presentation on malaria, a post-presentation quiz to assess the learning outcomes, a survey and circulating attendance register to serve as proof of attendance. The reason for this plan is to ensure I train and evaluate the training effectively. Now, let me state that there's something missing from this plan based on what we've discussed. I will just ask people to, just for 2 minutes, what is missing? What's missing from a nicely written plan? You know, I've stated the resources, but there's something missing. What is it? Can someone attempt it? Okay, does Erica want to attempt it or Gwena? Don't be afraid, guys. I don't beat people. Yeah, I may be dark, but I don't beat people. Okay. Does Tule want to attempt this? Or Mila?
Can I take a shot in the dark? Trigger mode?
Sorry?
Maybe something like the trigger moment. I don't know.
Okay. So what triggered me to train? Okay, that's a good attempt, but we've already covered the trigger in the plan, in the reflection. Okay, remember, yes?
Can I try?
Yes, please.
So you're asking what is missing from the planning, right? The one that you displayed here.
Yes.
I think you've mentioned the sections of the resources you've used, but then you didn't mention the page numbers.
Okay. So it's page numbers. Excellent. What else is missing from the checklist I gave? Remember, it's the sections, it's the page numbers. What else?
You need to link it to behavioral statements.
Excellent. Link to behavioral statements. Okay. The reason is already provided. I want to read up on this so that I'm able to train accordingly. But the link to the behavioral statement is not stated. So here, this is behavioral statement A. I'm saying it's behavioral statement A because I'm creating a training plan and then I want to train effectively. I'm using keywords that I also used in the behavioral statement so that I tell the assessor that I understand what I'm doing and I'm linking it with the appropriate behavioral statements. Using Appendix C, here there is no page number. I think it's page 41 to 42. Okay, this is linked to behavioral statement B because I'm creating a training plan. I'll research on the topic so that I train well by reviewing. This is linked to behavioral statement C. Okay, then the page numbers here. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I'll remember it. Okay, because I can't see the names on my side. But what you've just said is excellent. Thank you for that. And then the standard treatment guideline. Bunny?
Balisa.
Thank you so much, Balisa. Thank you. It's so good to link the name and the voice. By the way, Balisa has attended all my master classes. So she's like a seasoned attendee for this. Thank you so much for this. It's really encouraging to know that people believe in you so much that they are willing to follow in all that you do. Truly appreciate that. Okay. And then standard treatment guideline. Always try to use the most recent pieces of evidence, pieces of resources. Behavioral statement C. Okay. The PowerPoint presentation is so that I'm able to train the staff. The quiz is to assess the learning outcomes. The survey is to assess the training, the overall training that I will do. This is the reason for the survey. And the attendance register is to serve as proof that there is actually attendance. This statement that I put here, I call it an anchor statement. Remember, in your planning, you're supposed to state the reason for the resources that you will use. In my first step, I state the resources here. I state the reason: to learn effectively, to identify my learning gaps, to research on the topic so that I train well. Okay, I'll create a PowerPoint presentation so that, okay, circulating attendance register is proof of attendance. This is for the, what's this? To serve as proof. But I'm researching on the topic so that I can be able to create the learning material. This one I call an anchor statement. It's an anchor statement because it puts together everything that I'm doing. It is also putting together the reason why I am doing what I'm doing. Remember, you are stating the resources that you will use, the GPP, the sections. You are stating the reason. These are the reasons that I'm stating. You are stating the page numbers. In the GPP, I think it's in page 162 to 163. And then I'm linking with the behavioral statements. Sometimes read the resources that you have. You will see that in the GPP, it tells you, when you train, you're supposed to have other people guiding you. You're supposed to have like a self-assessment. This appendix C is already provided in the CPT guiding document. These resources, now that you have all of these resources, it's easy. By the end of this session, I will be giving you the material already here in this, so that you don't start afresh. I can assure you, by the end of this week, you would be done with your CPT. Start by collecting the evidence, annotate the evidence, then write your four-step cycle, following the guidance that I give you. Easy, easy. Okay. Okay, now going to my planning, I consulted my tutor for guidance and created a training plan. Okay, I'm linking it with a piece of evidence from their guidance. I also read section 3.2.3 of the GPP, evidence 1, equipping myself with the skills to train effectively. Next, I used appendix C, conducted a self-assessment and created a learning plan to address them. Okay, I then familiarized myself with the standard treatment guideline and PSC. Now that I've already stated the standard treatment guideline, I can write in shorthand. This helps you not waste a lot of word count. As you can see, I wrote EV3. The assessors know. You don't have to write linked with evidence, and you don't have to link with, what's this? You don't have to link with the behavioral statement. You don't have to then say, behavioral statement A here, because it's already covered in your planning. And you will link with the behavioral statement in the actual evidence. So here you just link with the evidence that you are consulting, okay? I went on to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, a quiz, and a survey. Remember, the quiz, or a method of assessing the training, is what the people learned on the topic that you're conducting. The survey is you assessing the overall training. How was my presentation? How was my preparation? How was the material that I provided in the training? Would you like me to improve on 1, 2, 3? I'll be sharing a feedback form at the end of the session. I am really serious about this. Just to share on something, I am trying to move this program into universities. I know that universities are conducting CPTs from second year. Imagine learning about CPT from second year. Since I'm already learning, chemistry and organic chemistry already, by the time that we're in universities, we are not only equipping students with CPT, but we are helping them to learn how to learn. That's the big thing. People learning how to learn. There are also other problems that university students are battling with. One of them is mental health. We are here for people, guys. CPTs are just a way for us to, but we're here for people. That was a side note. Okay. I conducted the training on the 28th of November 2024 at Bethel Hospital Dispensary under the supervision of a pharmacist, using the presentation to explain the key concept on malaria and how it's managed. I then administered a post-training quiz to gauge knowledge. I also collected a signed attendance register as proof of attendance and used the survey to assess the effectiveness of training. I was pleased with the results. Now, this is the full implementation. With implementation, there are key things that you need to be providing. One of them, whenever I check someone's work, is I look at when. When did you conduct the training? I look at where. Where did you do the training? Okay. And then I look at link to the evidences. So you did link to the evidence here. And then I look at what was done. Okay. Using the presentation, where was it? I explained the key concept on malaria and how it's managed. I then administered to get, I also collected as proof of, and use. So you see that I did 1, 2, 3. And then it also speak on the process that you followed. Okay. So you can see here that my process follows a logical step. I start by mentioning that how I applied the resources. I then start off, tell you how I conducted the training and what I did at the end. If I started by saying, I started by, doing a survey to check how the training was done. No, you look at the flow of how you did what you did. Okay. So when I'm checking interns work, I look at, is it written in past tense? Okay. I consulted, so it's past tense. I check, did they mention when it was done? Okay, the date was included. Did they mention where it was done? Yes, sometimes it's not just the hospital, but it's at the dispensary. Okay, did they mention what they did? Yes, they explained. Excuse me, they explained. I also look at how is the process that they followed, and then if it's like that, then it's proper. I also check the word count, because sometimes you send work and then it's like 1,300 words. This helps. EV1, all of these things, so that it's not as long. Okay. And then in providing evidence, please make sure that your evidence is current, so it's collected in the year of internship. It's authentic. It's your own work. The SAPC recently provided a training that no AI-generated evidence needs to be done. Guys, I can see AI work. I can see when you used AI to write your 4-step cycle. There will be sites. I'm not saying don't use AI. If you've noticed, most of the communications I share look very polished. I use AI to just put the material together, but I already know what I want to say. So I ask it to just put the proper. Sometimes, because of the resources that I have, sometimes I write very long. I am very aware of that. So I ask, just help me put it together. And then I check if the material that it gives me, I give it material. Again, AI is not smarter than you, are smarter than ChatGPT or all those platforms that you use for that. Use them, but know exactly what you are supposed to be doing. Okay. So it's supposed to be your own work. It needs to be sufficient so that it provides 75% of behavioral statements. So since it's 3 behavioral statements, you're covering all of them. It needs to be sufficient, and there's support that you don't. There shouldn't be factual errors. This is mostly on domain 3.5. So with 6.2, once you understand, are you good to go? Evidence annotation. Here, annotation is telling stories. You're telling a good story. You're talking to your friend, not your friend, but someone who you would talk to like a friend. You are telling them the story of the evidence that you are providing. Okay? Your annotation should provide explanatory notes as to the evidence to tell a story, to provide context and explain what the evidence is showing. It should link to a specific behavioral statement, and it should tell the story behind the evidence that you are providing. Okay? Good evidence should have a title. It should have a description of what it shows. It should link to that specific behavioral statement that you're covering. Always try to link to as least behavioral statements as possible. If possible, link an annotation to one behavioral statement. One behavior statement. I will show you how to link multiple behavioral statements on one piece of evidence. Your evidence should be neat, and it should have clear labels. Okay. One of the things I learned with working with interns, now I'm also doing programming. Crazy stuff. But programming allows me to create resources to solve problems quickly. Imagine a pharmacist who understands calculus and knows how to program. In the future, we're going to open a research pharmacy that allows to find drugs quicker, solutions quicker. Guys, the future is exciting. We are cruising nicely here. I hope that by the end of the session, you're not only inspired, but you pass your work. Important. Okay. Again, when providing evidence, it needs to have a title. It needs to tell us what it shows. Again, it needs to, link with a specific behavior statement. Here, very important. It's not behavior statement expert. Link it with the behavior statement. Then add annotation. In the annotation, you speak about application. You can say, a bit about what it says, but talk about how you applied it. Most of the time, interns would say, I consulted, staff training, and it says 1, 2, 3. Okay. After you've learned what it says, how did you then apply it in your work? Okay. And then here it speaks about, what this says, just, brief to show the assessor that I understand what it says. And then here I speak about, how I apply it. Then there is this checklist. Does it have a title? Yes, there's a title. What does it show? It's section 3.2.3 of the GPP. How does it link to the activity? I needed to learn how to train effectively. Do I link it with a behavioral statement? Yes, it's a specific behavioral statement I'm linking to. Okay. Now, my annotation is to ensure I train staff effectively. I consulted section 3.2.3 of the GPP manual. In this section, I learned more about what providing sufficient staff training is. From this section of the GPP, I learned that I also need to create a self-assessment and a learning plan. I then proceeded to create a self-assessment and a learning plan to meet my needs. So you can see here, I did not only state what this shows, I stated what it says and how I can then apply it in my workplace. Sometimes the evidence that you provide will tell you certain things that you need to be doing. Then you do that. Okay. And then what else? What else? Okay, beside that, but you will see. Okay. And then the training plan. Okay, so remember when we're doing the mind map, I spoke about how can I communicate with this specific person to, create the material. Okay, this is different. It's an email that was sent. Okay, dear, it's your tutor or someone that you will consult. I'm planning to conduct training on, you add your topic, on the specific date. I don't know how to create a learning plan. Remember, that's what I wanted to learn. I understand you've been working at this pharmacy for some time and have trained staff before. May you please give me guidance? This is linked to behavior statement A. Behavior statement A asks me to seek guidance, to show the assessor that I sought guidance. I sent them an email or I sent them a WhatsApp text, and I'm providing this as piece of evidence. If it's not written down, it did not happen. This is what I'm explaining, okay? To ensure I trained effectively, okay, I sent an email. It's linked to a specific behavioral statement. Behavioral statement, it's not X now. We now know it's A. The mystery behavior statement is now revealed, okay? Evidence 2, this is their response, okay? After they responded, they told me what I need to provide in my training plan. I am telling them that after I read the GPP, I needed to create a training plan. This is the training plan that the tutor then responded. This is the guidance the tutor then gave with the training plan. Then I say it's linked to behavioral statement A. It's got a title, it tells me what it says, and then the annotation, and I link to a specific behavioral statement that I applied. Okay. You need to indicate who guided you, so it can be a tutor, or it can be another pharmacist who has trained before. And then who are they related to you? You can say it's another pharmacist or your tutor. Mention them by name, okay? Then this is the training plan that was then developed. Remember I said I'm going to consult Appendix C from the SAPC website. I will share a link on that. I will share, details on where to find this. Yeah, but this is the training plan that I am developing. This part, very important. It's important that you put your details so that you validate your evidence. Evidence validation shows that this is my evidence. And then I was guided by someone who I work with. This is the date of the training. This is how I'm going to deliver the training. I'm going to use a PowerPoint presentation or a live demonstration. The goals of the training are this, the actual topic, then the schedule. This is the date, this is the time, this is the place where it's going to be. And then the content, this is what I will be providing at the training. And then how I'm going to assess the training is I'm going to use a quiz. I'm going to use an assessment method to train the staff. Okay. And then still, this is the self-assessment. These are resources that I've already provided with you. So as soon as we're done, I'm going to send it. Okay. And then the learning plan that I created so that I'm able to meet my my targeted learning needs. Okay, remember what you then discussed in the mind map that we did. We talked about what I needed to improve on, So here, the learning plan will, just guide you. How will I meet my learning needs? How will I develop them? I will seek guidance. I will use Appendix C. I will use these documents to train or to learn on the topics. I'm also adding these page numbers here. I don't have to, but now I know you can go there. The resources I will use are these ones. I use this from the SAPC CPD guidance document. I will share that. I will share it with you guys. Okay. I'm also adding what I learned and how I applied it. Application, very important. Title of evidence, what it shows, link with behavior statement, and then what it says and how I applied it. When I check the work, I'm looking for all of these things. Once you understand this structure, I am telling you, by the time that you annotate your work, you are cruising nicely. Okay. And then evidence 4, this is the title. This is the evidence I collected, and then I'm including. Guys, as you can see, it shows nice work. It's nice. You can see everything that's happening. I'm linking it with the behavioral statement consistently. The title's there, consistent, nice work. One of my favorite writer says, after he had created everything, it was good. After you've created all your work, are you happy with the work that you've created? You see here, I'm very excited about the work that I created because it's good work. It is good work. You are doing a great thing. CPDs are not just about passing your internships. It's a method of learning that you can apply in all areas, particularly finance. Side note. Again, evidence, what the evidence shows, and then I am telling you what the evidence tells me, what the evidence is about, and then I'm linking it with the behavioral statements. Sometimes these pieces of evidence that you see here will send you to another link. And then when you go to another link, it will show you another link. Then you are conscientized about the type of problems that are available to solve. Solve a particular problem. You won't have to worry about, finances. Right now, with opening a pharmacy, I know that I don't have the money to open a pharmacy, but there's areas that I can, doors I can knock at so that there's funding. When you do CPDs, you will learn how to solve problems. That's what it is. Okay. And then I'm telling you how this evidence links to the other one, and then I'm linking it to the behavioral statement. I'm passing through this evidence because it's already provided. I will share the links with all of you. Okay, still same thing. And then the presentation. Okay, in the presentation, you focus on what you needed to learn. So in the beginning, I wanted to focus on malaria, the pharmacology of malaria drugs, and all of that. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And then in the annotation, this is the presentation I created from the above resources. I created this PowerPoint presentation as part of developing the learning and teaching activities. I use this presentation to present to the pharmacy staff. It's linked to behavior statement C. Okay, it's a presentation. I'm not telling the assessor, what's malaria. You can still add that, but the focus is on behavior statement C. I can still add that. Okay, I added it in this way. Title of evidence, what this shows, linked with a specific behavior statement. Annotation, I included information on the life cycle of malaria, the diagnosis as well as the signs and symptoms. I ensured that my slides were not crowded, ensuring that there isn't too much information on the slide to facilitate learning and ensure that the important information is provided. I then explained the rest of the information during the presentation. Developing the learning material to make sure that the people learn and grasp the important information during the training that I then provided. Still on the presentation, remember I'm talking about the pharmacology of the drugs. So this is where it's provided. I'm talking about chloroquine. Side note, there is a drug in my language, in Kulmaswat, called umhlonyan or wormwood in English. Wormwood is actually what was used to develop chloroquine. I hope it's chloroquine. But this is something that we grew up in our neighborhood seeing. Someone did research, found the drug, tested it, and then they found chloroquine. Guys, you are problem solvers. You are providing important solutions to the pharmacy. You're not only just dispensing, you are solving problems. There are many problems in the pharmacy profession to solve. Okay. Again, title, the present, what it shows, link with a specific behavioral statement, and then I'm telling you what it shows. This structure will help you go a long way because you know exactly what to provide as you annotate. You're not telling stories here. You are not telling stories because you are, it seems I'm contradicting myself, but you are telling specific stories. Okay. Okay. Still on the presentation and then concluding. Title. What it shows. Behavior. You can see I'm not linking to behavior statement A, B, and C. I am specific about the behavioral statement I'm linking to. Avoid blanket evidence at all costs. It shows that you don't understand the work that you are providing. If you link with one behavior statement, you're not taking chances. You are focused with what you want to then be showing. Okay. And then I'm including the references, so that my information is not just taken from out of nowhere. I am giving the people an opportunity to ask questions so that because since I'm presenting, there may be questions that are asked, like when I did ask on the chat, which I will answer and get to that. Okay, I ended the presentation by allowing question and answer session before giving the training quiz. You can see that I'm moving in a sequence. I'm telling them the story of what I did, the resources I provided, the self-assessment, the presentation I provided, link with one behavior statement. Avoid blanket evidence at all costs. Okay. Again, the quiz, the title of the evidence linked with the specific behavior statement. You don't have to hide the participants who participated in the presentation since it's not patient confidentiality, so they can be there. Always ensure that you provide a date so that it shows when it was done. Also include the score, when the people, and then if it's a quiz, then you can include a memo of the quiz that you then used. If it's Google Forms also allow so that people don't have to write stuff down. Easy. Technology helps us with all of these things. Okay. These are the pictures taken during the presentation. Okay. These are the pictures that I asked one of the colleagues to take. I took the pictures as proof that the training happened. This is when I use the presentation to present to the pharmacy staff or pharmacy assistants to facilitate learning. Here, I facilitated a quiz to assess what they learned during the training. As you can see, people are here holding documents here. Okay. It's always important to identify yourself. So this is the trainer. You then add training. This is me. You then add that this is me. I was training the staff, and this is the staff that was actually trained. You can see that this person is training because there's a presentation that's opened over there. Okay, and then title of the evidence. What this evidence shows. The names are not covered. You don't have to cover this. The date, very important. The survey to assess the training. These are some of the material that's provided. This material is general material. You can then restructure it to your own liking. Maybe you change the form format, or maybe you find a form that maybe looks like that so that you're able to cover the evidence that you want to cover. Okay, this is linked to behavior statement A. The survey is linked to behavior statement A because I want to assess how effective my training was. Okay? Because if you look at the questions I asked, were the training resources adequate? But I'm not assessing the resource, the learning material. I'm assessing the overall training. The training was well organized. Then their rating here. Okay? The allocated time for the training was sufficient for learning. The material was very helpful. There was a presentation. There was a quiz to assess the learning. Okay? The exercise and discussion helped me learn the material. Then you rate this to check the overall training. Then at the end, there's also a comment section that allows the people to make comments, to make suggestions on how you can improve it. This shows understanding on how to train effectively. Okay. You don't have to cover the staff details like I'm saying here. Then fill the forms out in full. Encourage the people to fill the forms. Sometimes interns fail. Like, it's not that the evidence was not amazing. The evidence is perfect, but the forms are not filled out in full. There's no date. So we can't really, assess it. The date and the person who trained, very, very important. Okay. And then there's a register. You don't have to cover the people's names, the signature. It's also important to add the date and who trained the staff and the name of the training. Okay. It's also linked to behavior statement A because it proves that the training did happen. So it was effective because, there was also a method to check who attended so that if we wanted to ask questions, not that the assessor will be like, okay, give us this person's name, but it shows just, proper training etiquettes. This, learning about CPD also allowed me to be in other platforms to train staff on topics I have no business being in because of diligence and applying your work. In whatever you find your hand to do it. Do it with all your might. Okay. It's important to include who was training and the date of the training session. Okay. Now going to the evaluation, I see that we are well within our, well over our time. It's 18:40 now. We're supposed to be done 10 minutes ago. And may I please ask just 5 minutes for this, and then we'll open for questions. So yeah. In the evaluation, there's 4 parts. You state what you learned according to the competency standard and the behavioral statements. Behavioral statements, 6.2 has 3 behavioral statements. Look at what you learned according to that. Did you learn how to train effectively? Did you learn about training methods? Did you learn how to conduct a self-assessment and stuff like that? Mention those things. Impact on practice is what are you now able to do based on malaria management, based on the competency standard and the behavioral statement? Can you now develop learning materials? Can you do all of these things? Okay. I'm also in the process of creating an online learning institute for pharmacy assistants. Guys, I have no business being here, but it's because of CPD. So CPD is an important platform, like it helps you, not just in this, but in many, many areas. You are very important. The profession needs you. Don't take this lightly. Yeah, okay. And then the application, you provide an example of where you applied what you've learned. Not about malaria training. Where did you then do? Did you do another training on another topic on patient confidentiality, on improving adherence, on another topic that you want to train pharmacy staff on? Mention that. I developed the training plan and then I train them on 1, 2, 3. The future learning need is that after you were able to do 1, 2, 3, I want to learn about this area. I want to learn about other training methods. I want to learn about other ways of performing a self-assessment. Okay, so what was learned? From this CPT activity, I learned how to plan, implement, and assess a training effectively. Planning, implementing, and assessing a training. This is the behavioral statement that is mentioned in this. The feedback I obtained from the pharmacy staff and the supervising pharmacist indicated that the training was effective. This training equipped me with the ability to train on various topics confidently. Okay. I apply the skills when training on safe dispensing practices and the legal requirements for prescription writing. I created a training plan and made a presentation on the topic. I finally evaluated the training using a quiz and a live demonstration. So here, I am telling you what I did, on this. I created something, I trained. So I'm just providing a summary on where I applied the skills I gained here, beside this activity, beside, malaria. If you see here, I didn't talk about, training. I learned about the pharmacology of 1, 2, 3, and then I dispensed a prescription. It's not about dispensing. It's about training. Focus on training. Okay. In future, I plan to apply the skills by training staff on antimicrobial stewardship and the role of a pharmacist in this. Okay. So now this is, the 4-step cycle that you have. In the evaluation, what did you learn? The impact on practice, what are you now able to do? The application, the future learning need. What skills do you want to improve on? Or what do you want to be able to do now that you're able to train the pharmacy staff effectively? Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate it. The material will be sent on email, and then the video is also available. To those who haven't received, please, just send me a text on WhatsApp and I'll attend to that. Now I'll just give us some time to answer questions, starting with Ukwena. They asked, can I train pharmacy assistants on the correct technique for Symbicort use? Can this fit this domain? The other question was, with regards to the training plan, would it be appropriate to print out the training plan and get the supervising pharmacist to sign this as proof of approval? The answer is yes to both of them. It's a good topic. But in the topic that you choose, include the resources where you got the information, include how you delivered the training. Is it a presentation? Is it a live demonstration? If it's demonstrating on Symbicort, how will you assess what they learned? Will you ask them to demonstrate? And if you're demonstrating, what method, what criteria would you use? Maybe you have a rubric that says, do they know how to, assemble that? Then you tick. That can be a way to assess. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Okay. Didn't realize my screen shared all the time. Okay. So I don't know if there's any other questions that you want to ask on this.
Linda,
Yes, Marisa.
totally unrelated to this, right? But from my assessment comments on 5.3,
Okay.
so I had evidence that was dated, I think, the 9th of February, 2026. And then the assessor said something along the lines of the evidence should be current. So what do they mean by current? So the submission date was the 23rd of February, right? So the evidence
Okay.
was collected on the 9th of February.
Okay.
The
9
CPA
April.
successful, but then there was that comment.
Okay. So you're saying you included a date of the 23rd of April this year?
No, the 20. So the last submission for
Okay.
so the previous submission, if I remember well, it was the 23rd of February, right?
Yes.
The evidence I had, one of the pieces were dated the 9th of February, 2026. Then it's just that now my network is going to take longer to open that. But then on implementation, if I remember, yes, the implementation, I think it was partially, I don't know,
Okay.
partially, yes. But then there was a comment that the evidence should be current.
Okay. So when you look at the start date and the end date, if the start date for your CPD was after the 9th of February, then they are going to say your evidence needs to be current. Or if your start date and your end date is outside. Okay, let's say you started on the 9th to collect the evidence that you collected. But in your start date, when you're writing your 4-step cycle, you include the 10th of March or 10th of February. So your start date and your end date is after you have started collecting the evidence. So you need to make sure that the start and the end date and all the evidence that you include is within that period. So that's what they are referring to.
Okay. So with the evidence that maybe I collected in January, right? And now
Yeah.
I'm doing a CPD.
Yes.
Would that evidence now be outdated since the submission is like tomorrow, the 30th of March, and the evidence was collected between January and February?
No, it won't be. So your start date can then be the 1st of March or before that start date when you collected the evidence. And the end date would be maybe a few days after you have even done with the CPD and you are submitting. Let's say that you're submitting on the 30th of March. So you can make your end date to be the 30th of March because you know that you didn't collect any of the evidence, after the 30th of March.
Where do I say this end date? Like on where? On the implementation?
Yes, on the implementation, it asks you to add the end date somewhere there when you're adding the planning. And I think implementation and evaluation. On the evaluation, that's where you add the last end date. Safe practice. Always add the end date, the date of submission. You will never go wrong with that.
Okay.
And then the start date would be the first time that you collected the evidence. So look at the attendance register, the dates that you include them, the pictures, the date, the self-assessment. Those dates are the ones that you include as the starting date.
Okay. So
Okay.
let's say, for example, I dispensed on the 17th of January, whatever that, let's say, because sometimes the script for compounding, for example, or doing pharmaceutical calculations, we don't have pediatrics in our hospital.
Yeah.
We don't have a pediatric ward. So now when it's difficult to get the calculation, like where you have to calculate a dose. So I had that piece of evidence. I did the calculation in like January, right? But then now I need to include that in my as my evidence. So I can say the start date was like, let's say, for example, if that calculation was done on the 10th of January, can the
Yeah.
start date be the 10th of January?
Yes. If
Okay.
the oldest date is the 10th of January, include that as your
Okay.
start date. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The end date, yes, the end date, always include the date where you are submitting, because I'm sure that date will not, be later
Okay.
than that.
All right.
Okay. Yes, Karabo? Okay.
I wanted to ask about the self evidence of it and how do you go about it?
Okay. I'm sorry, Karabo. I can't hear you. I'm not sure if it's just me. And
Can
may
you
you
hear me?
please Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the self-assessment. How do
Yes.
we go about it, and as well as the evidence for it as well?
Okay. So in the self-assessment, let's say your topic is malaria, okay? You look at the topic that you want to train on, and you look at the other behavioral statements. Let's say in behavioral statement A, you want to learn how to train effectively. So if you don't know how to train effectively, that can be one of the learning needs. In the self-assessment again, since you're training on malaria, if you don't know enough about the pharmacology, that can be one of your learning needs. In the learning plan, it will in the material that I provide, it just gives you like a guide. But now that you've identified gaps in your learning, you then develop a timeline on where you will start the learning, on the resources that you will include. So it's kind of like a planning on how you are going to learn. Okay. So if let's say you want to train on the 10th of March, you are doing your self-assessment on the 5th of March. You can then say that I will start learning on the 5th of March, and I will consult these resources that will guide me on, malaria, on learning methods, maybe an article or YouTube video, or seeking guidance from your tutor. Maybe you are doing a mind map like we just did, you include that as the evidence. And then on the plan as well, you hope to end your learning by a specific date and conduct the training on maybe the 10th of March. Then that solves the self-assessment, what you needed to learn, and then when you're going to learn, and what resources you're going to consult to learn. Okay. I hope that covers.
Thank you.
Okay. So there is a question from Erica. And if our learning needs is limitations on information of the topic that we'll be training on, would this still be appropriate to include? Yes, definitely. Definitely enough to include. Okay. Are there any other questions? No questions. Is there any comments from Mila? I haven't heard anything from her. Any comments from Kwena? Nothing. So everything is clear. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I think we are well over our time, but I truly appreciate you taking time off. I truly appreciate you investing, your money, hard-earned money, on this. You are not only helping me, but you're also helping me solve the problems that I am passionate about. May you be increased in your resources. May you have everything that you require. And if you have questions, please text me. Sometimes I may take a bit of time to respond, but I try to not pass a day or two. And if you see that I'm not responding, please also, ask again. Sometimes I get over 20 texts a day, and it's difficult to get through all of them. Again, the resources will be sent via email, and I'll give you a link on the video online. So watch that. do your material. I'm hearing Utubalisa passed the last CPT, so I'm excited about this. This is good work. Please send me the feedback as well. It's truly encouraging. Okay, thank you so much, Karabo. Thank you so much, Gwena. Thank you so much to Erica and Mila. I can't see, I think it's Karen. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining, and I truly appreciate this. Have a lovely evening, guys. Goodbye.